first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's wife I owe her nothing? I see her as needy, clingy, overly emotional, and annoying. She sees me as cold, mean, and selfish. She married my dad when I was 9 and forced herself into things I didn't want her in, and honestly, things she didn't belong in, given the circumstances. And by that, I mean I had known her for 3 months because she and my dad had a long-distance relationship, and we hadn't spent that much time together prior. The things she tried to force herself into were the traditions I had with my mom. She pushed her way to be there for every single one of them. My friendships. She would tell me who I should and I shouldn't be friends with, and really pushed friendships on me when she hardly knew me. Then again, she heard more about me from my dad than I ever heard about her. She pushed herself into my grief. She always claimed I needed to talk and open up with her, not just to anyone, but to her. She would demand it, follow me around trying to get it. And then she invited herself along to my therapy, which then invalidated therapy for me because I refused to participate with such a new person there. She was very much into the idea that our relationship came before other relationships, and so she would make me spend time with her over my friends because I was resistant to her. My dad was pretty quiet during it all, and honestly, I didn't blame him enough back in the day, and now he knows how I feel about his part in it all. She would hug me without consent and squeeze, so I couldn't push her off. She would try to kiss me and get annoyed if I blocked her, and she would hold my hand when I didn't like it. So, the other night, she told me she was tired of having me keep her out of my life, that she loved me and my dad and was a good stepmom and wife, and she deserved to be acknowledged, loved, and appreciated for it. I didn't answer her, which made her angrier, and she snapped, and she told me I was being mean to her for no reason. And then I told her that just because my dad loved her didn't mean I did or would, and I didn't owe her my love or anything. I told her straight up I owed her nothing. I wanted to go deeper, but my dad stepped in and told me to apologize. This is when, for the second time, I told him he wasn't innocent in all of this either, and I let him know exactly where he messed up. We're not talking now. I wanted to say so much more, and if my dad hadn't stepped in, more home truths would have come from me. Am I the a-hole? I'm 17 female, turning 18 in less than 2 weeks. She sees everything different. So does my dad. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Forcing herself into your therapy sessions? That's totally messed up. What did the therapist say about that? Tell both of them this. You might have been willing to build trust and a familial relationship with her, but you were never given a chance. She bulldozed her way into your life, started demanding your affection and your time, and demanding you love and trust her as a mother when you barely knew her and missed your actual mom. It didn't feel like love. It felt like an attack, and some of her actions border on downright abuse. You cannot be forced to love someone. You understand she wanted a relationship, but she needs to understand trust and love are earned, not demanded. And your dad needs to understand that. Even though he loves her, protecting you should have been his first priority. He allowed her to force herself on you and did nothing about it. You're happy he found love, but he needs to understand his wonderful new family was a living nightmare for you because you had no privacy, even at therapy. The therapist asked her to leave. She said we needed it, and she was going to stay. She told her, the therapist, that if she wasn't willing to help us, then she was going to find someone who would. Yeah, that's messed up. Point that out as an example. She wanted it. You didn't. The therapist was helping you, but stepmom didn't care what you needed, therapy/privacy. Stepmom only cared about what she wanted to be up in your life. So, her desires came at your expense, yet again. Yep, and I have not been to therapy since. I might start back up with another therapist when I am independent of them, but it left a sour taste in my mouth. Also, I really needed that therapy, which sucks even more. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my sister, brother-in-law, and their kids after months of living in chaos? During the middle of the pandemic, my brother-in-law got laid off, and because they could no longer afford rent, my sister, her husband, and their 3 kids, age 5 to a newborn, moved in with me. I, 22 male, live in a small flat, but since I work nights and sleep most of the day, it's sort of like they live in the flat, and I'm just some random guy. I understand that kids are very hard to take care of, but I expected my sister to at least try and keep the flat clean. That would be a hard no, since every time I come home, there's dirty dishes all over the place and toys on the floor, and it just smells awful. I don't know what it is, and neither does my sister evidently, but it's terrible. The eldest colored all over the wall and spilled juice all over my rug. She also broke several fragile glass figurines that I inherited from my mother, who has passed away. My sister, we don't share the same mother, disregarded all of these things, and when I got upset, just told me to get over it because her kid didn't mean it. I've had to get rid of a chair because the second eldest vomited all over it, and nothing that saved it. The youngest cried a lot, and it understandably irritated my neighbors, who never said anything to the landlady but did come over multiple times to complain. I have sat my sister down and explained my frustrations to her multiple times, but she just doesn't care. I have tried to explain everything to my brother-in-law, but he is rarely home, despite not having a job yet, even though it's been months. The kids were up at the same time that I was asleep, and they constantly ran in and out of my room, screaming their little heads off. I love them, really, but I couldn't deal with that, especially since you have to be alert and present in my line of work. Security guard. The final straw for me was that somebody, more than likely the eldest child, let loose my leopard geckos. It took hours, and although I finally managed to find all of them, it was the last straw that broke the camel's back, and I told my sister that she had to leave and that I couldn't take it anymore. It's been a week since then. I have gotten no word from my sister, but the rest of our family has been calling non-stop, demanding to know how I could just kick my niece and nephews onto the street. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If your family is so worried, they can take them in themselves. A small flat is no place for a family of 5. Some people have absolutely no concept of how to take care of kids. They just don't understand how kids work at all, lol. Yet they go on and have plenty of them and hope they figure it out in the process. I'm wondering what the brother-in-law does all day considering he doesn't have a job. Definitely not the a-hole, because you are getting noise complaints, and on top of that, are destroying your property and your flat. They should have been thankful that they had a free place to stay. Yet, a single flat for 6 people is ridiculous. Maybe she should parent her kids better, not expect you to just go with it, because the kids that mean break something. He hides from his wife and monster brood. Opie is not the a-hole. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to share a windfall with my heavily pregnant stepdaughter who normally pretends I don't exist? Hello all. I entered a raffle 18 months ago and won a house in my name. I wasn't expecting to win, and the house is worth a few bob. So as you can imagine, I'm over the moon since I paid a couple of quid for the entry. It's tucked away in Wales, where I will never settle or live. I'm in south of England, but I entered on a whim, and as I say, wasn't really expecting to win. I'm in my 40s and have some younger half-siblings, all of whom I love very much and would like to care for. My stepdaughter is a similar age, is pregnant. She was raised in a very stable home with love and attention to her education from both her dad and mom. However, at present, she isn't working because of MH issues. She doesn't have her own home and has moved in with her out-of-work boyfriend who we think has overstayed his visa. So really, I understand she is in a precarious position. I was never especially close with her because she resented I was with her dad. No cheating or anything. She just felt I was in the way, as kids often do. Despite me trying very hard to form a relationship with her. I can't have my own bio children and was very keen to gain a daughter/friend, but life circumstances have meant it's been hard to relate to her or her to me. When I found out about the house, I wanted to gift it to my younger 2 siblings. Both work from home and would love the house. They had 0 advantages growing up. In fact, due to their mom being a person of color, I feel they had more disadvantages, and they live in a rough area of London at present. I think they deserve it, and they'd love it. Husband and I have no inclination to move, and we could sell it on, but we don't want to right now. My stepdaughter, on the other hand, is extremely well connected and has lots of benefits that have helped her along, and although I empathize with her MH struggles and pregnancy, I also know that she will hopefully be fine. My husband is already supporting her with a large allowance each month, as well as her mom. She called me after months of not properly speaking to me to ask when she can move in. I had discussed clearly with my husband the plan for the house, to which he agreed, and was surprised. I said she's not getting the house. She was pretty shocked and said she's pregnant, and the house is literally right there, and why would I stop her from having a good head start? I tried to gently explain to her, but the conversation got more and more heated, with eventually her pulling her dad into it. Somehow, during the end of this conversation, both my husband and stepdaughter were crying and asking me to reconsider, saying I was being heartless and possibly even cruel by not. I honestly feel very frustrated and probably quite bitter. She was happy to not talk to me for months despite me reaching out multiple times, but the moment I have something she wants, it's, "Oh, hi, Leslie. How are you?" I just feel even more like I want to dig my heels in at this point. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole, though I suspect your spouse isn't being genuine with you. Do me a favor, lease it for £1 a month to your siblings. Keep ownership in case your marriage falls apart. But also, watch out if the marriage falls apart. The house might fall under marital assets, which may allow him, and therefore stepdaughter, to gain ownership. It's best that OP take a look with a lawyer or someone of the like to see for sure, so husband and stepdaughter can't yank the rug out from underneath your siblings, OP. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, and do not cave on this. Let your siblings live there and be caretakers of the place in your stead. This girl is entitled, presumptuous, self-centered, and rude. You owe her nothing. And as another thing to think about, if you let this girl live there, her entitlement would just keep spiking. Any little thing about the place and she'd be calling you. Baby's room isn't nice enough. You need to paint it. The tub isn't big enough. You need to get a better one in here. I want better furniture. You should buy it for me. And I wouldn't be surprised if she eventually thought of the place as hers and wanted to sell it because she needs the money, and then had a fit when you said no. Keep your firm no in place on this one, or you'll sorely regret it. No good deeds goes unpunished, and you'd pay for it dearly if you let her live there. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I wouldn't take in my half-sister if something were to happen to him? This has been on my mind for the past couple months since the discussion occurred. Backstory: my parents divorced when I was 1, and he has always just tried buying my love. We have had very heavy verbal altercations since I was around 11 from what I remember. He has caused me many of anxiety attacks and has never gone out of his way to be a dad. Around June of 2020, he broke the news that he had gotten his girlfriend of 2 years pregnant, accidentally, and that a baby was born already. I didn't pay much mind because I would be leaving to Europe for college mid-September. I, 18 female, had been hanging out with my dad, 40 male, around the first week of September. I was set to move the next week, so he was trying to make up for 17 years of arguments, lack of emotional support, and overall awful parenting. One of the days, he asked if I wanted to meet the baby, to which I just said I would think about it. Then around 2 days before I leave, he asked if I had thought about it, and I decided to tell him the truth. The truth being that I didn't. She's only 2 months old, so she wouldn't even remember it. I told him that if she ever asked to meet me when she is older, then I would be fine with that. He was disappointed by this, and asked if I would take her in if something were to happen to him and his girlfriend. This is what has been on my mind. I told him that I would not consider myself an option if that were to happen. I'm moving to Europe for college because I want to stay there for my future career. To move a child being raised in the US to a European country where English isn't the primary language is not ideal. This kid has also an 18-year age difference to me, so I see no relationship between the two of us happening. I hold no ill will for this innocent child, but my dad keeps guilt-tripping me by saying that she's my sister. He also doesn't consider that his girlfriend's daughter, who is my exact age and is planning to stay in the US, an option, because I should be the first choice. Am I the a-hole for being honest with the fact that I wouldn't take in my half-sister? Edit. Sorry if it wasn't clear, but my dad's girlfriend is around his age. I'm the one that's 18, and his girlfriend has a daughter who is also 18. This is pretty straightforward, not the a-hole. Not your responsibility. Your half-sibling has options other than you. You haven't met them, and also, this is such a weird thing to be planning for on your dad's part. If he died tomorrow, an 18-year-old would be a terrible candidate for guardianship. A part of me also sees it as straightforward, but I am aware that I have a very heavy single-child mentality because I was one for 18 years and still consider myself to be. So I felt that maybe I might be being a bit too cruel. Also, it's not that weird in his mind because his dad died when he was 8 and he started working at 11 to provide for himself since he didn't like school. Third world country stuff. Not the a-hole. This child is a stranger to you and it would be an incredible burden, especially at your age. I suspect your dad is pressuring you because he thinks it will mean that you forgive him or that there isn't any real problem between the two of you. Honestly, that never crossed my mind. He has always just never acknowledged the fact that he caused me so much pain and stress, so I might be overlooking the fact that he actually might think about it. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Update. Am I the a-hole for not going back to my wife after she threatened to call the cops on me? Original post. My wife and I recently welcomed our 6-month-old baby. And since my wife returned from the hospital, it feels like everything has changed drastically. Before this, we were the kind of couple you'd think had it all. Never argued, always happy, and just solid. But now, it's like the person I knew and loved is gone. Her anger and resentment toward me are so intense, I can practically feel it whenever I'm near her. I tried to brush it off, thinking it might just be the exhaustion and stress from having a newborn, but it only got worse. After months of tiptoeing around, I finally reached my limit. 2 days ago, it all exploded. We got into a terrible fight that quickly turned into a shouting match. I couldn't believe the things we were saying to each other. It was the worst fight we've ever had, and in the middle of it, she screamed that she'd call the police on me. That statement stopped me cold. I wasn't even yelling anymore. I was just standing there, stunned. I felt betrayed and heartbroken, like a stranger was standing in front of me, not the woman I'd married. When she finally stormed off to another room, I just sat there in silence, unable to process what had happened. I felt like I was backed into a corner. It hit me hard that this wasn't just some heated argument we'd look back on and laugh about later. This was something that could change my life in ways I couldn't imagine. I didn't want to be in a situation where I was at risk of having the police involved over a misunderstanding or an accusation. So I made a decision. I grabbed whatever I could think of, some clothes, my phone, and my keys, and left. Now I'm staying at a friend's place. He's been really supportive, but he says I'm just not myself these days. And he's right. I feel like a shell of the person I was. My wife, meanwhile, has been reaching out, saying she wants to talk. My mother-in-law even came over with my baby, asking me to hold her and see if that might help heal things. But I had to refuse. As much as it hurt to say no, I knew that if I held my daughter, I'd be tempted to go back home. And then what? Go back into a situation where a single argument could lead to a call to the cops? My mother-in-law is trying to mediate, making excuses for my wife. She's telling me that my wife didn't mean it, that it was just words said in the heat of the moment. But that's not something you can take lightly. I can't just forget that she threw that threat out there. It changes the entire foundation of trust we built over the years. My mind is constantly spinning, and a sense of loss weighs heavy on me. I lost my home, my wife, my child, and a life we built together all in one moment. People tell me to just talk it out with her, that maybe I'm overreacting. But how do you talk out something like this? How do you go back to normal after feeling betrayed like that? I'm dealing with depression on top of everything else, and I keep questioning if there's even a path forward for us. Is there a way to forgive and forget? Or has the trust really been shattered beyond repair? Now for the top comments before reading the update 25 days later. Can you explain why the threat of cops being called is an issue at all? Are there marks on her? Do you have warrants? You can't go to jail for having a verbal argument. Cops don't care if my kind has done anything bad, they just shoot. I don't have warrants, but I have had cops harassing me for hours for simply walking. I don't even remember why verbal arguments started, but it was a mix of everything wrong with me, my family, and other BS. Can I ask how your wife was radiating hatred?
Did you talk to her about how you felt? Did she know you thought she hated you? What do you mean when you say you snapped? What does that entail exactly? Was there something specific you said or did that made your wife threaten to call the cops? Or did it just come out of nowhere? Did she say what she was gonna tell them when they got there? You said after tolerating a lot you snapped. What did she do that you were tolerating? Do you know anything about PPD or other postpartum conditions? Would you recognize the symptoms? I know that's a lot of questions, but I just feel like there's a lot of context missing here that could drastically change the story. Would you be asking the context if OP was a woman? Extreme personality change is a mental health emergency considering you have a helpless infant. Yes, PPD is real, and sickness and health are in the vows usually. It's her first baby, and she doesn't even realize it probably. And so what? If he does get falsely accused and ends up having his life ruined, at least he fulfilled his vows? This is insane. As somebody that has been arrested due to both a woman and laws in place, he will get screwed. My state has a mandatory arrest for a DV call. Dude will only make his life more difficult. I was in jail with a guy who called the cops on his wife for punching him, and he was in there with me. Now for the update. I did talk to her on the phone, and she can't seem to comprehend why I was so upset that she threatened to call the cops on me. It was like she couldn't wrap her head around the gravity of what she has done. She did apologize, but she still thinks I overreacted. As soon as I left, my eating disorder vanished. Then when I talked to her on the phone, the depression started settling again. I have filed for divorce. I have no clue what the divorce will look like, but one thing I know is that I will never feel safe with my wife again ever. Divorce is the right thing to do, for both of us. Don't talk to her on the phone or in person without a lawyer present. Text her or email her that all communication must be through a lawyer going forward. She was already ready to make up stories to the cops about you, which means she was full or ready to ruin your life. Don't give her the chance to make stuff up with no witnesses present to point out she's full of it. Get a voice recording app on your phone and make it easily accessible. She might try to contact you in person. Document everything. Basically, threatening to call the cops during an argument, especially when no one's getting hurt or in actual danger, is a really bad move. It's like using the police as a weapon, and it can have some seriously messed up consequences for the person on the receiving end of that threat. I'm really confused on why people are condoning divorce so quickly. Like, okay, I get it. If your wife has been threatening to call the cops on you on a regular basis, this is a fair reaction. But 6 months after giving birth with a drastic personality change, untreated PPD is a very real thing. Take some space sure to protect yourself. Document. But just jumping to divorce? Seems kinda a-holish to me. This update is 25 days later and nothing in the original post or the update suggests that the wife is doing anything to recognize it might be PPD and get it treated. If it were 2 days later, I might say bring it up and see how she reacts. But after almost a month? If she's still downplaying what she did and not mentioning working to get some sort of treatment, it suggests to me that either there's a conversation where OP mentioned it and his wife blew it off, and or that no one else in the wife's orbit has mentioned it. If OP's wife was coming from a place of, I did something really horrible, I haven't been myself, I need help, then maybe divorce isn't the only option. But if the writing is on the wall that he is going to have to fight uphill against his wife, and potentially a lot of people around her to get a PPD diagnosis and treatment to explain this, I don't blame him for walking away from that. And even if she was getting PPD treated, sometimes the betrayal that one partner does during a mental health crisis is too big to overcome. It can also be used as a tactic to minimize what she did. Like, you can't be mad at me for that, I had PPD. So a diagnosis is not always a solution in these cases. Not a-hole. Tell mother-in-law that her daughter needs counseling and perhaps medical treatment for PPD, and until that happens, you are in danger from her. You might also express the child might be in danger also, and try to get emergency custody for either yourself or your mother-in-law. Do not make any promises of reconciliation, and never be alone with your wife. I am sorry you are experiencing this, OP. I am also sorry for your wife, as she is obviously suffering some form of mental illness at the moment. However, you need to protect yourself first and foremost. See if the lawyer can file something with police as she keeps making threats, etc. Next story. Am I the a-hole for using my scared pregnant wife's cravings against her to drive her to the hospital during labor when she absolutely wouldn't? My wife and I have been together for 6 years, and a few months ago we welcomed our first child, a beautiful baby girl. However, the tension between us began on the day of our daughter's birth and hasn't let up since. In the final 2 months of her pregnancy, my wife was overwhelmed with anxiety about giving birth. As her due date approached, she became so distressed that she couldn't even speak with her doctor without breaking down at the mere mention of labor. She seemed to be in denial, as if ignoring it would somehow make it go away. I tried to encourage her to see a therapist or at least talk to someone, but she shut me down every time, insisting she just wasn't ready. On the day she went into labor, she was clearly experiencing strong contractions, yet she kept insisting they were minor and refused to go to the hospital. My mother, her mother, both of our sisters, and I all tried to reason with her, but nothing seemed to get through. She was determined to stay home, even though she was obviously in active labor. At that point, my sister and I knew we had to step in. Throughout her pregnancy, my wife had been craving churros, so my sister casually mentioned she was going to pick up some, hoping this might coax her out of the house. My wife, eager for the distraction, agreed to go along. However, my sister and I had already decided we were taking her straight to the hospital. When she realized our plan, her face fell. She started to cry and panic in the car, but we knew it was the only way. Thankfully, everything went smoothly, and she delivered safely. Both she and the baby were healthy. It's been a few months, but my wife continues to bring up that day, throwing it in my face whenever we argue. Each time, I apologize and reassure her, explaining that I understood her fear and that my intentions were only for her safety and our babies. There was no ill will, yet she continues to paint me as if I had done something terrible. This time, when she brought it up again, I finally snapped. I told her that if she thinks she's helping our marriage by being this way, she's wrong. I told her that if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't hesitate, because in that moment, I couldn't trust her judgment for the safety of herself and our baby. I explained that I would no longer engage in this conversation unless she's willing to communicate in a constructive, healthy way. In response, she accused me of dismissing and stonewalling her, calling me an a-hole for standing firm on wanting productive communication. I don't respond well to name-calling, especially since I've never spoken to her or anyone in that way. My frustration boiled over and I ended up saying something I now regret. Talk to me in that tone again and you'll be a single mom real quick. She hasn't stopped crying since. I feel terrible because I know my words were harsh, but I felt like I needed to stand up for myself after months of being constantly berated. Now I'm questioning if I went too far or if this was the only way to get through to her. Now for the top comments. If you still want to remain married, I suggest speaking to her healthcare provider and therapists, or reach out to service providers to see why she is acting this way. They also need to see a counselor. It's never a bad idea, but wife needs it yesterday. Opie does not. Not the a-hole, but you have a bigger problem. She was putting herself and your baby at risk. She does not sound mentally sound. If she cannot see that still after all this time, you have a big problem that needs professional intervention. Yeah, for real. I can understand being upset at that time, especially since she was dealing with so much anxiety. I had panic attacks at the thought of giving birth when I was pregnant with my first. It's an absolute horrifying thought. She should be able to look at the situation now and understand that Opie stepped up and made a hard choice to take matters into his own hands. He kept his wife and child safe. I'm really not sure what she thought was going to happen otherwise. Last story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to leave my husband after he blamed me for our baby's death and started treating me like an animal? 2 years ago, we lost our 8-month-old son to pneumonia. I was devastated, and the guilt and pain have never left me. I did everything I could for him. I took him to every appointment, gave him his medication, and followed all the doctor's orders. But even after all that, he didn't survive. I thought my husband and I would grieve together, but instead, he has spent these 2 years blaming me, constantly reminding me that a better mother wouldn't have let this happen. The worst part is how he treats me now. Since our son's death, he's turned cold and cruel, treating me like an animal. He's openly disrespectful, dismissive, and degrading, and he brings up our son's death at every opportunity to paint me as a failure. It hurts even more because he's taken this grief as a free pass to cheat on me, and I'm just expected to accept it. A few months ago, I saw him in the mall with another woman. They were walking together, laughing, and he looked happy. I confronted them both on the spot, hoping he'd at least feel some shame, but instead he got furious. He turned it around on me as saying I had no right to be upset when, according to him, I'm the reason he lost his son in the first place. He even told the woman I was unstable, and she looked at me with pity, like I was some kind of deranged ex. That moment felt like I hit rock bottom. Now I'm at a breaking point. I don't know if I can take any more of his abuse, accusations, or infidelity. But every time I consider leaving, I feel like he'll just tell everyone that I abandoned him and couldn't handle my supposed guilt. Some people in his family already think I'm the reason our son died, thanks to what he's been saying behind my back. It's like he set me up to look like a monster no matter what I do. Am I the a-hole for finally wanting to walk away from this marriage? Or am I selfish for even thinking of leaving him while he's still grieving, even if his grief has turned into resentment and cruelty toward me? Not the a-hole. He abandoned you 2 years ago. Filed for divorce stating the reason is abuse and infidelity. Tell everyone what happens behind closed doors. He is verbally and mentally abusing you. If it is your fault, then you should recognize that it's more his than anyone's. Did he drive your child to appointments? Of course he didn't. Did he do everything in his power like you? It seems not. I'm sorry for your loss, and I hope you can escape this POS so you can heal. He did abandon me emotionally long ago, but I've been clinging to the idea that we could somehow rebuild, even as he's torn me down. I needed to hear that it's okay to be honest about what's really happening, and that filing for divorce isn't a failure on my part. Your point about his lack of involvement really hit home. I realize I've been carrying the weight of this alone. He's purposely treating you like garbage so he can get rid of you, plus play the victim again for being abandoned. You know he's the victim no matter what you do, so you might as well leave and get your life back. I hope you can get some grief counseling. What he said and done is totally unhinged and unacceptable. Not the a-hole. No parent should have to endure the loss of a child, and it's heartbreaking that your husband has turned his grief into something so cruel and destructive. You did everything you could for your son, and no one has the right to blame you for his illness or his passing. The way your husband is treating you, using your son's death to manipulate, control, and degrade you, is abusive and completely unacceptable. You deserve support, compassion, and a chance to heal, not to be treated like this. Walking away from this toxic behavior is not selfish. It's an act of self-preservation. You have every right to prioritize your well-being and find a path to healing, even if that means leaving him. It's been incredibly hard, and sometimes I feel like I'm losing my mind trying to justify staying with someone who constantly twists my grief into something I should be ashamed of. I love my son with everything I had, and hearing someone else say I did my best helps more than you know. Part of me keeps hoping my husband will come around, but with everything he's done and said, I'm realizing that his pain doesn't excuse his cruelty. Your words make me feel a little less alone and a bit more justified in thinking about leaving and focusing on my own healing. Update. I was told by my wife that she wants a break. Original post. I, 28 male, and my wife, 27 female, have been together for 7 years and married for almost 2. We have a beautiful 1-year-old, and I thought everything was perfect for us. It's been a rough week, but I was informed that she wanted a break between us. It came out of left field, and I was lost on what could have happened. She expressed that she needed space to think about what she wants to do and to find herself again. Since I am the sole provider for our family, she has had all the time at home to take care of our child, while also having the freedom to relax. She said she wasn't sure who she was anymore, since her identity had changed from who she was before to being a mom. I understand that having a child is a very big moment and that it dramatically changes our dynamic and relationship. But she expressed that I have not met her needs and that she has no love for me nor feels happy with me anymore. I'm not her safe space, even though I have been trying so hard to provide for and give love to both my child and my wife. I work 10 to 12 plus hours a day, and whenever I am home, whether on my day off or right after work, I make sure to take care of our child, so she has time to do what she wants and to have her own space, as I understand that being a stay-at-home mom is not easy. It's also worth noting that everything we have isn't joint. We don't own a house together and we just live in an apartment. She has been talking to a new friend group in an online video game for a while now, long before she told me she wanted to take a break from me. I noticed that she had been talking to this new guy, and I was concerned since they would talk all day and all night. I expressed my concerns, and she just said that he was like a brother to her. I trust my wife, and I didn't think I needed to talk to this guy and tell him that she was married because I trusted her to shut things down if necessary. A day after she told me she wanted a break, I did my best to give her space so she could think about her feelings, but it just seemed to me that she wanted to spend all her time talking to this guy and her new friend group. I was told that her friend group and this guy knew she was married, and I didn't want to assume the worst. But a few hours later, a good friend of mine informed me that she had been oversharing her needs, both emotional and sexual, and saying that I no longer met them, but this guy could. She said that they had more compatibility, even though she had never met him in real life. I was devastated to hear this because I thought I had done everything I could to make her happy, providing a home and food for our family. Later that night, I checked the call logs and texts between them, and to my surprise, they had been sending explicit messages, asking each other sexual questions, and comparing me to him. It even reached the point where they were getting off together while on chat or a phone call. She later found out that I knew about everything and apologized for her actions. But she still wants to talk to this guy because she's worried about his mental state after I caught them in the act. From the very beginning of this break, it feels like my feelings were never considered. I just have to focus on my child to get through this, even though I'm the one providing for the home while she openly talks and video chats with this guy. I know she's craving attention since he's the one giving it to her, but she doesn't see that me providing for our family is an expression of love. I want this marriage to work because I love her, even though she emotionally cheated and we have a child together. But it's so hard to find the will to keep trying when she's talking to this guy whenever I'm at work, and even when I come home. Is it my fault that she's seeking attention from someone she's never met? Should I have done a better job showing her the love she deserves? I regret any instance where she mentioned that I wasn't showing her love the way she wanted. I'm willing to work on myself and keep fighting for our marriage, but she has no reason nor will to make it work because she doesn't believe I will change. If we went to marriage counseling, it wouldn't be beneficial for her since she no longer sees any love toward me, and I'm not her safe space anymore. But this new guy is? She shows no will to make this work. I understand that no one is perfect, but I feel like any suggestion or action I take is just for nothing. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. It's not going to work. Not only has she cheated on you, but she clearly doesn't want you anymore. I'd suggest gathering information and seeing if you could keep the house and the child as you're the provider. Not saying to leave her on the streets, but hopefully her new guy can take her in. You seem like an amazing father and husband, and you deserve so much better. Thankfully, they rent and don't share assets. She also doesn't seem interested in being a mom. Divorce and determining custody shouldn't be too difficult. She has been emotionally cheating. She didn't communicate. She only told you about a break after she got attention from someone else. She wants a break to be able to cheat without guilt. Call her out. Tell her she asked for a break, but she is talking to another man. That's not finding herself. That's jumping on another pin. Will she be taking your son to go find herself in the arms of another man? Will she have her answers after having sex with a stranger once? Twice? Are you going to wait for her to find her answers? What are your values? Your boundaries come from your values. Is honesty and integrity important to you? If they are, what are you going to do about your wife lying to you? If she is spending time trying to create a connection with another man, she is not focusing on her son. What are her priorities? Ask questions, and don't let her give you vague answers. Anger is a sign that someone is violating a boundary, or that a want or need is not being met. Are you able to feel your anger? Remember, boundaries teach people how to treat you. I'd avoid this. There is no point in trying to talk logic into people like this. OP's focus should be his child and his own safety. A mate of mine was in a similar situation. Engaging like this just got the police called on him because she threw out false accusations of DV and had him kicked out of his own home due to a temporary protection order. He was eventually proven innocent, but it was months and months of heartache to prove it, only to then have to go through a settlement. His wife doing this has already proven that he and their child aren't a priority, and it can get messy quickly. OP should focus on the legal battle that is to come and look at protecting himself from such possibilities. Now for the first update. I honestly didn't think this would get so many comments and views. I'm also surprised at how often this happens and how big the internet really is. Thank you for taking the time to read what I've been feeling. No, I'm not saying I'm perfect, far from it, and there are faults that I have to work on to be a better partner in the future. I understand that only providing isn't the only thing that matters when raising a child and keeping a family together. There are many instances where I wish I had done more, and should have done more so she would feel special and chased like she wanted. There's only so much that people can do, and I see that she was just looking for the missing attention that I wasn't giving her. Unfortunately, she has a mindset that I'm not going to change, or that I don't have it in me to meet her needs, and no longer sees any romantic feelings toward me. At this point, like many people mentioned, there's only so much I can do, but I need to focus on my child's safety and well-being. I have to stand up and show her that if this is what she wants, then so be it. Unfortunately, that means we weren't meant to be, but that doesn't erase all the good memories we had together throughout the years. My main priority is our child and my own well-being. If I can't keep my head up and have respect for myself, then how can I be there for my child? I've also gone gray rock and now only ask for updates regarding the child whenever I'm at work. I talked to my employer about reducing my hours so I can work 8 to 9 hours a day, depending on whether I stay longer for customers, sales. I've gotten in contact with a few lawyers and will be calling them to ask questions about what to expect and to get more guidance. I'll keep you guys posted if this is still interesting to you. Thank you for your comments and for the sincere support while I go through this. Edit. For those wondering, yes, I have screenshots of messages and call logs, including timestamps and the duration of the calls. I always have access to call logs since I'm the main account holder for our phone plan. They're still calling and video chatting, so I'm just racking it up to have more references. Messages are obviously explicit and concerning. I haven't read all of them, but ever since I first checked her phone, she changed the passcode. So now I'm just relying on messages on Discord on her computer. Whenever I get a chance, I'll snoop until I feel like I have enough. Yes, her family knows the whole situation and doesn't understand why this is happening or why she's so willing to go for this dude. Now she's trying to justify her cheating by claiming that I cheated, based on a mark she supposedly gave me but doesn't remember giving? How does it make sense that I would be up doing dishes at 5 a.m. when I wake up early to take care of our child? This just shows another example of how she doesn't want to take accountability for her actions and is shifting the blame. I'm 100% open to taking a polygraph at this point just to prove her wrong and make her realize what she's doing or thinking. If you work so many hours, I don't know how can you spend more time with her if she doesn't want to work, so both parents able to have their free time for the family. I don't see how it can work. I am glad you make up your mind. She is just using him as a doormat and an easy life. I've been that doormat. Get out now. People must have been telling you should have chased her more. Sure, she deserves attention, but if she never had a conversation about it, the cheating isn't your fault. It's not your fault regardless. Just keep your head up and work on getting over her so you can move on. Second update. A lot has happened since the last update, but I have started to focus on my well-being and mental state while also making sure my child gets the love and attention she deserves. I came back home from the gym, showered, and started spending time with my child when my soon-to-be ex-wife decided to leave her computer unattended. I was already being dragged into her friend group's drama, and I noticed a few messages being sent on her phone, which is linked to her computer. They were filled with hateful messages, saying that I'm trying too hard to win her back. She mocked the fact that I went to therapy, saying, "He's trying so hard that it's cringe." She also admitted that she was purposefully ignoring me because she doesn't want to be involved with me, all while laughing with her friends about what I was doing. The irony is, I'm not doing all this for her. I have accepted that I need to move on, be the best dad for my child, and learn to co-parent. But for her to act civil to my face while trash-talking me to all her friends and the guy she's still in contact with, referring to me as her ex, I finally blew up. She asked, "What does everyone think is going to happen?" That right there told me she was only going to therapy and counseling just to check it off a list. There was never any real intention to save the marriage. I told her that if she wants to leave so badly and be with this guy, she should go ahead and leave. She chose to step out of this marriage and family. She has until the end of February to move out, and the baby is staying here. She asked if she could visit and see her child, and I said, "Yes, you're her mother. Just let me know when you want to see her. I'm not preventing you from seeing your child. I want her to know that at the end of the day, you're her mother, and I'm her father." She agreed and said she'd be out of my hair as soon as she could. Keep in mind, all of this was happening while she was on the phone with her new babe. So yeah, that's the update. I'm not trying to be a doormat, but enough is enough. I'm still in contact with lawyers, but it seems like she's just willing to let everything go to the point where I might not even need one. However, I will still do my due diligence to protect myself and my child. Has she said to you what you did to make her fall out of love with you, and now she's at the point of mocking you? Not providing her enough love or feel chaste to her needs. Which again, I take full responsibility that I have not done the best on that, and I was more than willing to work on it and go to therapy to be a better husband to her. Hence why I've been going to therapy to make this marriage work. But since first update, her main focus was just moving on and being with this new dude and just rub it in my face. Unfortunately, I just had enough of the disrespect when I'm trying to keep this family together. Get a lawyer. Let her leave the house and do not contact her whatsoever after she leaves. Don't call her to come see her kid. Don't call her for anything. Tell her that all contact is to go through text or email and nothing else. It's gonna help when it comes to gaining full custody in the divorce. Get on that divorce quickly. Don't waste any more time that you absolutely have to. Again, this will help you greatly. It will allow you to take advantage of her current mood. Believe me, I was there. Don't mess around. Handle business quickly and without consideration for her. Agree completely, and if you can, get her to text you something, saying you'll have full custody as long as she can visit. That will be helpful to you. Even a text is better than he said she said in court. I'm sorry for your daughter. Last update. She's leaving next week and is still completely invested in this other guy. She even had the audacity to ask if she could get birth control through my insurance, and I declined because the main reason she wants it is so she can do whatever she wants with him. He's trying to get his own place so she can move in with him, and she's driving all the way there. It's still a wild situation, but at least we are in agreement when it comes to our child. The divorce papers have been written and filed, along with the custody agreement we agreed upon. Everyone in the family is disappointed and frustrated with the situation, but there's only so much we can do. She's not willing to listen to anyone else besides her new guy and her friend group. Either way, I hope she finds happiness with him, but if it goes south, she's not coming back. Last story. My fiancé ruined our engagement because she wants an open relationship. My fiancé 24 female just told me 23 male that she wants to explore herself with other people. We started dating in 2017 and had been going strong since. My fiancé, well, I guess now ex-fiancé, and I have been through hell together. Every time she freaked out, I was there. Every time she needed a shoulder to cry on, I was there. A couple of years back, she and I checked out a LARP and met a group of people who were all polyamorous. She and I had many in-depth discussions about how I was uncomfortable with the subject because I felt that it breeds jealousy and preys on the weak who just want more people around for security. She agreed at the time and assured me it was just me and her forever, so I built my life around her. Whenever I met someone new, I talked about my lovely fiancé, who was just finishing her social work master's degree. Or every time I faced someone at a tournament, I would show them a picture of my cats and her. Well, Monday comes, and I grab a flower and head home to see her. I plan to watch her favorite movie and cuddle with her all day when she suddenly says, "We need to talk." I sit down and she says, "I have been thinking about this for the past month and a half, and I am going to see other people." I realized that while talking about how we are going to get married, my whole heart wasn't in it. And after exploring those feelings, I've realized I want more. This broke me, as this was the one thing that was a deal breaker for me. I immediately pleaded, "Anything, please, just for us to figure something out." But she just said, "I need to explore myself." She also told me she never cheated, never thought of anyone else, and doesn't have anyone planned to see. I don't know what to do because she was my everything. Everything I talked about. Every move I made was for us. I don't know why I'm posting here. Maybe just to see if there is something I'm missing or if there is something else I can do. Now for the top advice. Probably not what you want to hear right now, but be thankful it's now, instead of 3 to 4 years and 1 to 2 kids later deciding she wants out. Definitely this. You probably don't feel it, but you are very young at just 23. Go to therapy and talk this out of your system so you don't take baggage into your next relationship. Start dating when you're ready and take it slowly. Maintain interests and friendships outside of the relationship. You'll be fine. You've dodged a bullet. You'll see this when you're older and more experienced. To me, that didn't sound like I want an open marriage. It sounded like I need space and want to date around, so sounds like she wants to break up. She did indeed mean it that way. She says she wants to do this and knows I'm uncomfortable with it. I know my boundaries though, and we are now through. The heck is there to explore? It's literally just sex. The time to have been a trollop was before establishing a long-term relationship. Sorry this happened to you, bro. Better to find out before marriage or kids though. Well, the thing is, she was scared of sex. She was extremely terrified of getting pregnant on accident, so we had to have 3 forms of protection. We ended up finally doing something a month ago, but apparently that was while she was thinking about being poly as well.